Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the door controls. They're part number DCBB4540NR32D. This is a 4.5 inch by 4 inch hinge with an 1/8 inch radiused corner. Stainless steel, non-removable pin. Let's take a closer look at what it is dimensionally, and then we'll discuss where you use it. Here's what that hinge looks like. It's a hinge, okay? So it's garden variety in the sense that, it's a hinge. This happens to be a special derivative of hinges used in a particular application. Not that you couldn't use it in other applications, but it's meant for one application. This is 4.5 by 4. That means the height is the first dimension. That means it's 4.5 inch tall. The width is 4 inch. That's the second dimension. On butt hinges, they always put the height first. It's counterintuitive if you are accustomed to measuring doors where the width is first. Kick plates, the height is first. Doors, the width is first. Hinges, the height is first dimension. In access panels, the hinge is on the second dimension. So there's all these rules that you just need to learn. You don't want to make the mistake that has been made in the past, where you have a client looking for 3'6" hollow metal doors at 16 gauge, steel stiffened, and the spec calls 5 by 4.5 inch, 5 by 4 hinges. Not everyone makes those. Turns out the width is not 5 inch in that dimension. So we prep those hollow metal doors for 4 inch tall hinges, and not 5 inch, so you just have to kind of learn how that goes. Also, another dimension would be the thickness. This ought to be 134 thousandths. I'm going to go with 129 thousandths. Here we go. Yeah, 133.5. So this is right. This is really spot on. 133. So that's pretty good. It felt a little thinner to me. This is stainless steel. That's mentioned in the part number as well. That's a solid stainless base material. The ball bearings that are in the packets, as well as the pin, I believe, are going to be steel. So there is some steel componentry to it, but otherwise the hinge is made of stainless. You'll notice there's a tiny little radius here, and that's what makes this an unusual hinge. Let's talk about where you'll use this hinge right now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. As I said earlier, this hinge is for a particular application, and while it can be used in other applications, it's really only for aluminum storefront. Aluminum storefront is, when it comes to butt hinges, rather than pivots or continuous geared aluminum hinges, or maybe stainless pin and barrel hinges, they use a 4.5 by 4. That's pretty typical. The aluminum industry is bringing that vertical axis of pivoting closer to the face of the door, which is considered best practice. If a 4-inch wide hinge does the job to clear the door to the required degree of opening, don't use a 4.5 or anything wider. You use the width of the hinge that is considered most appropriate for the application. In applications like aluminum storefront, 4-inch wide is what they use. So if it's a 4.5 by 4, in the United States, because it's substantial, it's orders of magnitude less common than 4.5 by 4.5, that's a tip-off right away that one of two things have occurred. It's someone who has spec'd a 4.5 by 4 because they know the right size to spec, which is unusual, or it's aluminum storefront. But what really seals the deal is that what they call an 1/8 of an inch radius. I've also heard this called 5/32. It's a tiny radius. There are 3 radiuses that you'll see on hinges: 1/4, 5/8, and then this. A 1/4 inch radius hinge would work, but it's not the right size. They're calling it 1/8 of an inch radius. As I had said earlier, I've heard it referred to as 5/32 radius, which is a 32nd larger than an 1/8 of an inch. That's the real sure thing. This is aluminum storefront. Now, why is that the sure thing? That's because the aluminum storefront industry uses routers, 2 flute carbide router bits, or maybe solid carbide spiral router bits, whatever they use, and it leaves this small radius. So if it's an 1/8 of an inch radius, they're using a 1/4 inch diameter router bit. They're routing out their jambs, their doors, and they're leaving that radius. They're not going back and filing that. That would be dreadful to do that. It would be dreadful to do that. So that's where you get this little 1/8 inch radius. That's the tip off right there. This hinge also is a non-removable pin. This is going to be appropriate for exterior doors that swing out. You can use them for exterior doors that swing in, but that non-removable pin is a security feature such that when the pin is fully seated and that set screw is tightened, that set screw goes into a groove in the pin and you can't drive the pin out. I've tried. They do not come out willingly. That's to be sure. So that would be another facet of the application as well. And then, of course, stainless steel, sure. Exterior doors and aluminum storefront, they're going to swing out. The occupancy type of most commercial places is going to be an outswing door, whether it, just going to be the way that local code requires it or occupancy requires it, where doors have to swing in the path of egress. So a hinge barrel being on the exterior, yeah, you can expect to see that. You're going to get screws with this. This is enough screws to do 3 hinges. I don't know, you won't get this many screws when you buy one hinge. You'll get the quantity of screws, 8 and 8, or probably there are 24 in each package. That's just how they do that. You certainly are not going to likely need any wood screws, but you might. The reason you wouldn't really is when you are routing a wood door, you're not going to use a 1/4 inch diameter router bit. You'll use a 1/2 inch, which would leave a 1/4 inch radius that you'll likely square the corners out, or you're just going to get 1/4 inch radius, commercial grade hinges, which you can, or you could use an 1 1/4 inch diameter bit and use and leave a 5/8 radius, and you can get 5/8 radius hinges as well. The reason you go with the larger bit is because it requires less tool path to do the work. This is what's called a full mortise hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaf here and here that when the leaves are brought parallel, they're meant to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. Okay, this is what is considered a standard weight because of that 134 thousandths. 2 bearing packets when it's ball bearing. If this were to be heavyweight, it would have 4 bearing packets, but you don't see aluminum storefront with heavyweight. You'll see offset pivots, really, or center hung, or continuous geared, or I don't really see pin and barrel hinges unless they're aluminum frames with fiberglass doors, but aluminum continuous geared hinges. Let's switch to the screen view and let's look at some supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at the images that we have posted here. There's the box. This is what a box of 3 would look like. There's one hinge and all of the screws for an entire box, showing you what that looks like. The full mortise nature with the swag. Some people say swage. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but you get the point. The bend on the hinge leaf. There's that non-removable pin up close, or the set screw. Just showing what that radiused corner detail looks like. The back of the hinge. That's nice because they're kind of showing that the back of the hinge is finished as well. And then the screw package. That's a number 12 threaded to the head, flathead Phillips drive wood screw, and then 1224 flat undercut head machine screws. Okay. All right, the extended description of what we're dealing with: stainless steel, stainless brushed finish, satin and brushed. Those terms are used interchangeably. I think brush or brushed is more of a reference to what you do to turn it into a satin finish. Commercial grade steel, meets A156.1 standards. That's an ANSI standard. If you went to the American National Standards Institute and looked for that document, you will find it. You can purchase that document, and it will tell you everything there is when it comes to governing the standards by which hinge manufacturers are measured. This is a non-removable pin. Full set of machine and wood screws included. For medium to heavyweight doors, I would definitely say medium. Heavyweight doors or high-frequency doors, I would go with a different hinge, 5-inch tall or heavyweight, combinations thereof. 1/8-inch radius. There's a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the door controls products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to their product catalog. Their manual hardware product catalog is here, and it's what it sounds like. It's their hardware that does not include automatic door hardware, and that's really what Door Controls is mostly known for, their automatic work. But they sell hinges and lock sets and closers and flush bolts, panic devices, things of that nature, and it's all here. There's nothing that I can say to be unique about this. This catalog is this product offering is duplicated and copied and carried over by countless other people who import decent quality Asian manufactured builders hardware. You know, you would select one of these companies over another just because of probably reasons of service. These are neat. These are pivot conversions. And we landed on this page, and I'll point it out. If you have a floor closer and the floor closer has failed and they don't want to replace the floor closer because of the cost, and they just want to put a surface-mounted closer onto it, well, you can do that, but you need to bypass whatever residual spring tension is inside this body, because you can't yank this out because now it's doing the job of carrying the door. On top of the spindle, you can add a pivot conversion, which basically has bearing packets in it that will allow the door to freewheel or rotate or swing freely over this spindle, which then stays basically stationary. So that pivot conversion, we sell a handful of them a year, and it's for exactly that purpose. They can really be the difference between someone spending $500 to do a complete repair or $3,000 to do a complete repair. And it doesn't come up often, and I would certainly consider replacing or having repaired the floor closer, which we can do either of those. We can repair yours or we can replace yours. But a lot of people won't because of the cost. But what I would like to remind that person is that floor closer could be 20, 30, 40, 100 years old. Our record is repairing one that was about 115 years old. So it's lasted decades. And I assure you that that surface closer will be two things: not nearly as long-lasting, nor nearly as inconspicuous as a floor closer. So the upfront cost is huge, but the long-term cost is substantially lower. So that's why I might consider that. The rest of the catalog I will leave to your whim and desire to explore. Lock sets, things of that nature. A lot of aluminum storefront hardware. So in conclusion, I would recommend a tour through their catalog. Okay, let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. In conclusion, this video is just to show you this relatively unusual hinge. You'll have someone come in and need just one hinge. One hinge was broken, generally the top hinge. The top hinge is known to carry about 70% of the weight of the door, so it'll always be that top hinge that really gets the majority of the use and abuse in an opening. If you see that top hinge fatiguing or failing a little bit, getting a little worn, the separation between the knuckles is now larger than it used to be, take the top and put it on the bottom and swap those two. If you have doors with spring hinges, always make that top hinge your non-spring hinge, assuming that you have a mixture of spring and non-spring hinges. If you have door closers, you always want to make sure that you've got ball bearing hinges, period. You don't want ever plain bearing hinges. And in fact, you'd want ball bearing hinges in almost all instances. Long term, you know, if you look at a door hinge 1, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, and you took a snapshot and that same hinge was there, you will notice a wear pattern as you go along there. Any questions on the Door Controls DCBB4540NR32D or any other Door Controls product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.